as you heard in the intro, I'm having callers call in and give me their best sports memory. So what is your best sports memory? It could be as a fan growing up or a game that you got to cover.
Yeah, mine is, I have two of them. Both of them are Phillies. One was obviously the '08 World Series. I covered that. I've waited, my whole life basically to actually see a championship. So that was pretty amazing. And then back in '93, when they went to the World Series, there was a rally at City Hall right before they played the Blue Jays. And my buddies and I skipped school and went down there and had a great time. And that was pretty cool because that was the first time I had ever seen a team in the World Series actually actively see it.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
All right, now let's get to the Philadelphia Eagles. Before the season started, most Eagles fans would have taken a 1-1 start to the season, but you know how it plays out in the city of brotherly love. It's certainly a game that the Eagles should have won yesterday, but the defense gives up 539 yards on the day, 413 of those in the air. And the third down efficiency for San Diego turned out to be the biggest difference in the game. How alarming is the play of this defense, given that the Eagles couldn't generate any pressure on Rivers and the secondary had left wide receivers open all day?
Yeah, you just said it. I mean, they couldn't get any pressure. Philip Rivers had all day to throw. And look, Philip Rivers is still a competent, even as good NFL quarterback, but he had a really down year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a bad first game. I mean, yes, I know he threw 4 touchdowns against Texas, but he also completed fewer than 50% of his passes in that game. He threw a terrible pick six towards the end of the game that allowed the Texans to end up tying it and then eventually winning it. So to me, he's not as dangerous as he used to be, and yet it just certainly did not go well for them because they couldn't generate any pressure. And then in the secondary, like you said, I mean, you got problems there. They're running out. They had an injury, and they had to run out 3 safeties. The problem with those safeties is that they weren't great. They didn't play well. And after the game, Chip Kelly said, "Look, what do you expect? You're not going to go out and get a safety off the street right now. So
right.
They got to play with the guys they have."
Now, Nate Allen was a huge question mark at safety coming into the season, and 2 games in, he hasn't done anything to show he's worthy of the starting job, but like you said, there's not much depth at the position. He was a victim on 2 of Eddie Royal's touchdowns yesterday and is a target on the back of the Philadelphia Daily News with the title reading Toast of the Town, Nate Allen and Co. burned early and often. Earl Wolff saw some solid action as him and Nate Allen were rotating in and out, but is it time to bench Nate Allen because of his putrid play?
Well, the problem is, what are you going to do? I mean, as Chip said afterwards, flat out, that he thinks that Nate Allen, or that Earl Wolff still hasn't grasped some of the things that you're asking him to do. So your picks right now in the defensive backfield, at least for the safety positions, are sort of like between bad and worse. I mean, you really don't have much depth there at all. So I think what you're going to see for the rest of the season is them trying to sort of hide and disguise those safeties in the same way that they've done in the past, where they've had those issues with guys like Kirk Coleman and Colt Anderson and whomever. They're going to have to do that going forward because they really don't have a choice.
John Gonzalez of Comcast Sportsnet joins us on the main event on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station, talking birds for a few minutes before he heads to Chip Kelly's press conference at the NovaCare Complex. And John, Deshaun Jackson's unsportsmanlike conduct gave the Chargers excellent field position late in the fourth quarter on Michael Vick's touchdown run. He was on the opposite field of where Vick headed to the pylon. That resulted in another score. Did Chip and Deshaun address the media after the game about that situation? And if so, what did the 2 parties have to say?
Yeah, they both did, and it was what you would expect. Chip said, he can't have that, and Deshaun admitted that he got a little carried away, and because some guys look at Deshaun as a smaller guy, somebody that they can maybe take advantage of. They sort of go after him, but he has to do a better job, controlling his temper in that situation. He knows that. I think he has shown more maturity this season than previous seasons. That was sort of a little hiccup for him emotionally. Something to keep an eye on, but I think so far this year, with an exception here and there, he's been better on that front.
What was the sense around the locker room? Because the Eagles definitely left some big plays on the field. Vick missed Jackson on a couple of long plays down the right sideline.
Yeah.
But did the players feel as though that they gave this game away to the San Diego Chargers?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, Kelsey flat out said that afterwards. He said it wasn't so much that I felt like they were doing certain things, that we were screwing up certain things. They had certain penalties. I mean, I wrote a whole column about it for CSNPhilly.com, all the missed opportunities. You mentioned two of them. They had huge plays down to Deshaun Jackson that they didn't get. One of them was called back because they had an illegal formation that was on Lane Johnson.
On Lane Johnson, yeah.
Right. They missed the 46-yard field goal. They didn't recover the fumble on the kickoff that could have given them the possession that might have won the game. I mean, there was play after play after play where you look at it, you could itemize it and go, wow, like any one of those opportunities, if they'd capitalized on any of them, the game could have gone the other way. So while the Chargers had a good game, they certainly didn't help. The Eagles certainly didn't help themselves by making all those mistakes.
Now, one play that caught my eye was Vic's deep ball to Deshaun on the right sideline. And it was a pretty deep ball. Vic was looking down the gun barrel, facing some pressure. But was that throw the one where Deshaun caught it out of bounds? Is that on Vic to make that throw with Deshaun open, or is that on Deshaun having to realize where the sideline is on that play?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. You really could go either way on that one. I think that there was the second one where it was more up the seam where Vic put it on Deshaun's hands, and Deshaun might have had to lay out a little bit to catch it. That one, to me, was more on Deshaun. I mean, you really need to make that catch. The other one, the one you're talking about on the sideline, it could have gone either way. I mean, yes, the ball needs to be thrown a little bit more inside, and yes, Deshaun needs to be more aware of where the sideline is, so he has to come back inside to get that ball. Combination of the two. I mean, it's really 50-50 to me on that one.
Now, how big of a question mark in your mind is Alex Henry at the kicking position? He's shown through 2 seasons and some change that he's money from 40 yards and in. But throughout his short career, he hasn't been faced with pressure late in games, and his missed attempt from 46 yards right before halftime ended up being the difference in the ball game. What are your thoughts on Alex Henry? Is he big-time kicker, or do you have some question marks about him?
To me, he's a guy. I think most kickers are guys. There's a couple of kickers that you would put at the top, and then to me, everybody else is interchangeable. If he's here, fantastic. I expect him to be. If he's not, nobody's going to miss him. Again, he's a kicker, and they're all sort of interchangeable and replaceable. So, yeah, he missed a 46-yarder, but I think there were so many. That was one of the things that they should have capitalized on, one of the things they could have done better that might have changed the outcome of the game. But it was just one of so many that, for me, I'm like sort of hesitant to say, okay, Alex Henry's the reason why they lost the game. He wasn't. He was one guy who should have made a play that didn't. But there were so many.
A lot of big plays left on the field. Yeah.
Right.
Now, 2 questions before we let you run to Chip Kelly's press conference at the NovaCare complex. After 2 games, has your outlook on the season changed? Before the season, Comcast Sportsnet ran out an issue with all the experts' predictions for the season. You picked the Eagles to finish 7-9. Has that record for you changed, or are you sticking with that prediction?
No, I'm pretty much sticking with it. I mean, look, after last week, everybody lost their minds and we got really excited. Everybody said that, now all of a sudden you've got to adjust your predictions. I don't see it. I mean, again, I think this is a team that could be good, obviously can score a lot of points, but as Vic said yesterday, they scored 30 points, they lost. He said, well, maybe we need to score 37 every week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dangerous proposition. If you need to score 37 points every week, you're probably in a lot of trouble. So 7-9 to me feels about right, especially because, look, they're 1-1. They've got Andy Reid and the Chiefs coming in at 2-0. If they lose that game, now they're 1-2, and they're facing a road game in Denver. That's a really tough start to your schedule. So 7-9 to me still feels pretty optimistic.
Now, you're all around the city covering events on what seems like a daily basis. You're somewhere else covering some type of issue in the city for Comcast Sportsnet. And for our listeners that don't follow you on Twitter, where can they follow you on Twitter? Because you tweet out some great stuff and do fantastic work for Comcast Sportsnet.
Yeah, thanks, Chase. I appreciate that. It's really simple. It's Gonzo and then CSN. So nickname, company initials, and then boom, there you go.
All right, good stuff. Thanks so much for joining us on the main event. We appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on. You have a great show, dude. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, man. Take care.